Here's our economic update for January 10th, 2026. On January 9th, we got our U.S. jobs report from the BLS. They've reported that we've added 50,000 jobs in December, and then we've had revisions down in November by 8,000 to now 56,000 being added. And our October numbers are now at negative 173,000 jobs. So we lost 173,000 jobs in October. This was revised down by 68,000. So the revision down total of 76,000 jobs over the last quarter or last 3 months, we've lost more jobs than we've added. Our unemployment has come down just slightly to 4.4%. This was in November at 4.6%. They revised that down to 4.5%. Our total number of unemployed people in the U.S. That's looking for a job is 7.5 million people. If you look deeper into the demographics, there's a couple of groups that tend to go up in unemployment before the rest or the average of the U.S. One is teenagers age 16 to 19. They're now at 15.9%, and year over year they've gone up. Month over month they may have come down, but we're missing a bit of data. For African Americans, we're now at 7.5% unemployment. This is also up year over year. May have come down slightly over the last month or two, but we're missing a bunch of data. For year over year, the number of people that have been jobless for more than 6 months, more than 27 weeks, stands at an increase of 397,000 people. So that's a significant increase. And the number of people that have been unemployed for 6 months or more versus the rest of the people that are unemployed is now standing at about 26%. We've also seen a year over year increase of 980,000 people that are working part-time due to economic reasons, but they want full-time work. So those are all headed basically in the wrong direction. I also like to look at independent sources other than, say, the government. So this is a reference to ADP. And they said that we added 41,000 jobs in December. What we've been finding is that there have been significant revisions downward with government numbers for pretty much almost the entire last year. So it wouldn't surprise me if the number was closer to this 41,000. January 8th, we got a report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. The U.S. had about 1.2 million layoffs throughout 2025. The only time that we've had more than this since the 1980s were 7 different years. And those years were 2001, 2002, 2003, 2008, 2009, and 2020. What do all of those have in common? They've all had economic recessions or just after a recession. So that doesn't look too good. On January 7th, we got our JOLTS report. We see that now we have 7.1 million open jobs, and we have 7.5 million people that need a job. So that means that there are 1.1 people that need a job for every job that's available. So there's more unemployed people than there are jobs available. Year over year, we've seen 885,000 jobs disappear. For inflation, some of this data is a bit delayed because of the U.S. shutdown, but on December 18th, we got our consumer price index of 2.7%, which came down slightly. Our consumer price index core, which excludes food and energy, and that's at 2.6%. I will highlight that there's a lot of missing data here, but that's the number that we have to go by. On December 5th, we got our personal consumption expenditures at 2.8%, up slightly, and our personal consumption expenditures minus food and energy core, so that's down at 2.8%. And that's from our September data. We're waiting for additional data. November 25th, we had our producer's price index 2.7%, and our producer price index core at about 2.9%, again from September. This is all due to the U.S. shutdown. This data should be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. Regardless of this, if you notice, all of this is in the high twos. The target is 2%. So everything's greater than the 2% target for inflation. The way you fight inflation is you raise interest rates. The way that you fight unemployment is you drop interest rates. So the Fed throughout 2025 has been trying to deal with which one do we fight more. So they're becoming more and more concerned with job losses and that's why they were dropping interest rates throughout the end of 2025. Speaking of the Fed and monetary policy, on December 10th, the FOMC meeting, they decided to cut 0.25% interest, and that was to the Fed's funds rate. And the reason being is because of the labor market concerns. The big thing that people missed in the headlines is that on December 1st, we stopped quantitative tightening. We stopped allowing treasuries and things and assets to roll off the balance sheets. And then on December 12th, they started the repurchasing of treasuries, but only on the short end. So that's about 0 to 3 year T-bills or bonds. And what they said is this is to maintain liquidity through tax season through April. It's not quantitative easing. Generally, when they start this, it doesn't stop, and it usually expands. Just look at the job numbers. They didn't go like up and down. They've been going down since 2022. They're unlikely to change direction anytime soon, and they're probably going to become a bit more negative, or you may see some unemployment creep up. So to me, I think we're moving to actual quantitative easing. They just don't want to call it that because people remember the Great Recession and people panic and then people sell stuff, and it's not good for the market. The next FOMC meeting is January 28th, and there's a 90% probability that they're just going to hold interest rates where they are, and they're not going to drop them at the moment. And there's about a 10% chance that they'll cut by about 0.25%. So it's unlikely you'll see any difference in January. For our gross domestic product, or GDP, first quarter we had minus 0.5%. Second quarter we had positive 3.8%, which is really good growth. Third quarter we had positive 4.3%, very high again. And fourth quarter estimates are coming in at about 5.1%. These are very high numbers. And I was questioning myself, I'm like, well, what happened this year and what could have made these numbers change that much? One, people are questioning like investment in AI and data centers and that sort of thing, in building. And then the other one is tariffs happened right in April and then got delayed, but some of them were implemented. So that may have made people buy a lot of imports first quarter and then maybe not buy those imports later throughout the year. So when I looked at GDP is basically consumer spending plus investment plus government spending plus the net export minus import. So your exports are positive, but your imports go against your GDP. So if I had a lot of imports early on, that would basically give me a negative GDP in the first quarter. And then if I stopped importing, which you do see, especially if we're looking at third quarter, the imports are actually adding to the GDP because we're importing less. So the change in imports being not as many is actually helping to drive up GDP. We're also finding that a lot of the growth is coming from consumer spending. AI is making up a percentage or two of GDP at the moment. If we look at manufacturing, on January 5th, ISM report came out. We have two areas that are growing. One is in electrical equipment, appliances, and components, and the other one is in computer and electronics. So that's good news. However, all other 15 industries have contracted, and they're finding that we have a drop in imports. So manufacturing as a whole has been contracting. The economy is still expanding. How's the consumer doing? So you and me, we're all consumers. Consumer spending in the United States makes up about 2/3, about 70% roughly of all of the GDP. So I want to know, how are you doing? Leave it a comment. Do you think that you're doing better than a year ago? Not as good as a year ago? Are you looking forward to this year? Are you worried about things? For the survey of consumers from Michigan, we have the index of consumer sentiment. Month over month, we are positive 2%. Year over year, we're down, minus 24.7%. For the current economic conditions, we're up month over month by 4%, and we're down 30.2% year over year. And then for the index of consumer expectations, we're up month over month by 0.7%. We're down by 20.9% year over year. For December 23rd, We got a report from consumer confidence, consumer expectations, family current situations, so forth. So the consumer confidence was down 3.8 points. Consumer expectations held at 70.7, but do note that we've been at 11 months of under 80, and less than 80 is a recession indicator. So it's something to be aware of. For the family situation, most families are now finding that the current situation is bad, more so than people that think it's good. We're also finding that even with those people thinking the current situation is bad, they do have expectations that 6 months from now will be better, and more people think it will be better than worse. So with all of this information, what am I doing? Well, not really changing much at all. So I have 6 months plus an emergency fund. It's closer to a year at this moment. Reason being is that, 1 out of 4 people, if they lose their job, they stay unemployed for more than 6 months. So I don't want to blow through all my money and not have a job. So I want to make sure that my family is protected. And I keep that in FDIC accounts, which would be high yield savings accounts, CDs, something around 4% or more. If I was close to retirement, or if I was buying a house, or I was making a major purchase, anything I would have to buy in the next 5 years, that would be big. That type of money I don't want to really invest, because the market can go up, it can also go down. And I don't want to have to lose 30 to 50% if I'm going to make that large purchase. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put it into high yield savings accounts, CDs, or something like that, so that it's FDIC. Any money that I'm not planning to use for at least 5 years, I'm taking that money and I'm using dollar cost averaging. I have 70 to 80% I'm going to invest in the largest 500 companies in the United States through the S&P 500 through a low cost index fund. And I'm going to put, 10 to 20% into the total international fund. At the moment, because interest rates are going down and there's an inverse relationship between bond value and interest rates, I'm starting to invest in bonds. And I don't mean like, savings bonds, I mean the bond market. This is what I consider investing. What I'm about to talk to is more about insurance or speculation. This is a very small percentage of my portfolio, and I fully expect it to basically expire fairly worthless. So I have an SPY put for June 2026. If the market goes down, I make money. And then I don't have to sell off my stock. I could sell off the put, and then I could buy back shares. However, if the stock market goes up, the put becomes worthless, and effectively I've paid an insurance premium to not lose the money. I also have a TLT call option, which is for January 2027. So this is a 20-year bond option. So I think that if things get worse in the labor market and we have some issues there, you may need to introduce some quantitative easing. So then they start buying up bonds. And if they buy up bonds, it drives down the interest rate, allows the government to, sell bonds or their debt at a long time horizon, which is stable for a government if it's longer. So that's beneficial to them. But what it would do is drive up the bonds, or the bond market, and bond value can go up. So that's why I have the TLT call option. I'm not buying up TLT, but I have the option to buy it at a set price, in January 2027 if it goes high. So it reduces the basically capital that I put into that. So for those that have seen the channel before, I do have about $200,000 in various metals. So I hold a lot of copper. I have, 75-pound suits of copper armor. I also make steel armor. This will stop like ice picks and knives and that sort of stuff. And then I have aluminum, where I melt down aluminum from scrap metal that I used to have. And I use that for 3D printing and do sand casting and that sort of stuff. I'm also currently holding, gold, silver bars, silver coins, coins that are from the U.S. before 1964 when they were still made with silver. Also pennies pre-1982. And by the way, in mid 2025, they stopped producing pennies. So I also hold a good number of pennies just because, hey, they might be collectible in the years to come. Well, if you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe. I cover a lot of financial topics such as how to make more money, how to save money, taxes at the moment, as well as how to invest, how to start businesses, and things along those lines. I also have a free Discord channel. If you want to join, you can talk to the rest of the group and ask questions and offer help as you can. All right, well, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a great day.